Hey everybody, it's Dr. Will Cole. We're live here in our Functional Medicine Health Center in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where we see patients around the world via webcam and phone consultations, and locally in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. About 75% of our patients are done via Skype and FaceTime and other different webcam interfaces. And for those of you who do not know what we've been doing these Tuesdays at 2 p.m. EST and talking about different health topics, digging into the research and science, and then practically applying it into our lives for the past couple of months. So if you want to check back on all the previous Facebook Lives, we have them on our Facebook page. Just click the Dr. Will Cole page somewhere above or around where you're seeing me talk right now. If you don't know what I do and who I am, my doctorate is from Southern California University of Health Sciences in Los Angeles. And my postdoctorate education and training is in functional medicine and clinical nutrition through the Institute for Functional Medicine and Functional Medicine University. I'm one of MindBodyGreen.com's, one of the biggest and best health websites in the world. I'm one of their course instructors and wellness experts where I get to teach people around the world, just like we're doing right now, about functional medicine. And I love what I do. I've written hundreds of different articles about the research and functional medicine and health tips. And we have video classes where we teach people via that as well. So anyways, enough about me. Let's talk about what we are all here to learn about right now, and that is butter. Before we get into butter, if you do not know what functional medicine is, check back on the previous videos. You'll learn all about it, and at drwillcole.com. But let's get to the heart of the matter, butter. We all know what butter is, hopefully, and it has a lot of stigma around it, right? Is butter healthy for you? Is it going to clog your arteries and give you a heart attack and make you fat? There's a lot of, it's kind of a hot topic in the health world, and it has been really for decades. If you look, I mean, the covers of magazines have been devoted to these saturated fats and animal fats and dairy, and people are either on one side of the argument or the other. Well, let's kind of back up a little bit about it. And for all the cool research and the hyperlinks on PubMed, check in the comment section below. And for those of you who have a question about these topics, just comment in the comment section below, and we'll be looking at it. Even if you're not looking at this live right now, if you're watching this on replay, we will be looking back on the video and making sure we're answering your questions for those of you who do have questions. So, first of all, butter. It is a fat source, right? So let's first of all just talk about the macronutrient of fat before we get into the actual intricacies of butter and butter specifically. First of all, fat as a general rule has been stigmatized, and you know, the low-fat industry kind of grew in the 80s and 90s. And, you know, at low-fat everything, low-fat cheese and low-fat dairy and low-fat this and all that stuff, right? Well, now we know today the research is pretty clear, and from a, you know, evolutionary science standpoint and just from a historical standpoint, be here today as a human race without healthy fats. I mean, it is something that is very much part of human development. Our brain is 60% fat. 25% of all your body's cholesterol is in your brain. It is essential. Fat is essential for healthy hormones, it's essential for a healthy brain, and it's essential for a healthy immune system, to name a few. And I don't know about you, but none of us would be here without healthy brain and hormones and immune system. That's pretty much a huge foundation of why we're alive. So it should be pretty well known, but even though it's still the remnants of that stigma, the antiquated stigma of low-fat everything, it's still there, surprisingly, that people think you still have to avoid fat, it'll make you fat. You actually need fat to burn fat. You need it for healthy metabolism. So this is not something that people should be fearful of, but they need to be making sure they're eating healthy fats, and not just any old fat. But more on that later. So, and it's also, we also wrote an article about fatigue. You also need it from an energy standpoint, just to be clear on that. It is the most stable form of energy burning. And if someone that's on this blood sugar roller coaster, they're going to be needing to eat all these meals 6 times a day. A lot of people that are eating a vegan diet or a vegetarian diet really does need to eat frequent meals, or they'll get hangry, they'll get irritable, they'll get weak, they'll get tired and fatigued because they're not getting the slow burning form of energy in the form of healthy fats. So it's like sugar burning is like this sort of quick burst of gasoline. You get this flame and fire it up and ready to go, but then it burns out in a couple of minutes, or in this case, a couple of hours. But in the form of fat, it's like a slow burning kindling. It's a more sustainable, long burning form of energy. And that is something that we try to transition our patients to. It's one of our clinical goals for many people that are going through hormonal problems or blood sugar issues, to really transition their body from a sugar burner to being more of a fat burner, more ketogenic. And that transition isn't easy for everybody. It is definitely a struggle for some people, but it's one of those energetic conversions that we really want to transition people for, that are looking to thrive and to feel great and to be at the weight they want to be and have the energy they're looking to have. So we're putting all the cool stuff in the comment section below if you want to sink your teeth into a little bit more of the science-y nerd aspects of what we're talking about. So we're going to keep this informational yet not too boring for the likes of Facebook. So butter. Let's talk about the good and the bad. Functional medicine is really predicated on the fact that what works for one person may not necessarily be optimal for the next person. And even healthy foods, what works for one person may not work for you. So we do not want to make any blanket statements on any one food, because with things like leaky gut syndrome or autoimmune inflammation issues, I've seen healthy foods flare some people up, and the next person, they do fantastic on it. So we have to look at labs and a comprehensive health history and actually clinically monitor someone to get a really good view on what makes their body thrive. But butter, so we want to look at the good, we want to look at the bad, and see, okay, how does this apply to your life and what's best for you? So first of all, we talked about the good things. Butter is a good form of fat, it's a good form of saturated fat, and humans would not be here without healthy saturated fats. It's not going to clog your artery, it's not going to give you arteries and give you a heart attack. This is an essential part of human brain development, nerve development, hormone development, and immune system development. So it's a healthy fats like the arachidonic acid and DHA, these things are needed. It's like these are the fats that we're getting from a very young age in the form of breast milk when moms are nursing their babies, and they are a really integral part to brain development as we age in the form of healthy fats found in foods like butter and wild-caught fish and grass-fed beef and avocados and coconut oil. These are all healthy fats for brain and human development as a whole. It's also a form, when you get healthy fats like this, it's a source of healthy fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin A, vitamin D, and vitamin K2, and vitamin E. These things are needed for healthy immune system, and they're so widely low and deficient in the American and Western diet as a whole, if you're in Europe as well. These things are, largely speaking, very deficient because people are avoiding healthy fats, and they have to be injected. If you look at the conventional milk, low-fat milk in your supermarket, they're going to add these vitamin D in fortified foods because they've been taken out, because the fat has been taken out, and you need fat for proper absorption and bioavailability of these healthy fat-soluble vitamins. And they're responsible for hundreds of different genetic pathways. They're linked to cancer. If you're low on them, they're linked to shortened lifespan and chronic disease and autoimmunity. You need fat-soluble vitamins, and the real food medicine way to get them is in these animal fats, actually. So they're important. Also, butter has trace elements of iodine and copper, which are needed for healthy hormones and immune system as well, and healthy brain function, as far as thinking clearly and having happy mood. So those are some of the good reasons of why we need butter. But just like I said earlier, what works for one person may not work for the next person. So here are some potential butter problems that we see, and it doesn't necessarily work for everybody. Why butter is bad? Because there's a mismatch between our genome, which hasn't changed in thousands of years, and the world around us. So the food that we're eating, the butter that people are eating today, is not the butter that once was. Blanket statement, generally speaking wise, the butter that they're buying in their conventional supermarket or the ones they're getting in restaurants. So really at the heart of the matter is something called casein. Casein is the dairy protein. There's not tons of it in butter, but there's enough of it to cause a problem in a lot of people. throughout history, thousands of years, you had what's called a beta-A2 casein, but through the globalization of our food supply and the crossbreeding of certain cows and the farming practices in our world, there's beta-A2 casein isn't very common in the United States and other parts of Europe as well. The predominance of cows in the United States have what's called beta-A1 casein, which again is a mismatch between our genome and the world around us. This sort of newer casein on the block, the new kid on the block casein is beta-A1 casein, which research is now finding that beta-A1 casein is actually the problem for a lot of people, and people actually do not have the inflammation and the immunoreactivity and the problems that come along with beta-A1. They don't have the same issues with beta-A2 casein, which is the ancient OG casein. So that's why you're going to see cropping up in now and in the near future more and more A2 milk and beta-A2 butter and beta-A2, 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 because that's that OG ancient original casein that our genome is very used to being around with and absorbing and utilizing and using as a nutrient. So this dairy protein is typically the problem for a lot of people. It's the subtype of the beta casein. So some other potential problems that are in butter today is the added junk in the butter. So all the added hormones, maybe the antibiotics, the fact that the cow is injected with this stuff that is not really the cow or the butter's fault. It's what we've done to the poor creature. That is a major issue. And also another thing is the fact that what are cows eating? I mean, cows for thousands and eons of years, they have been grazing in the green fields of the earth. Now they're fed corn. They subsidized, genetically modified corn. And again, there's a mismatch between the poor cow's genome, which hasn't changed in thousands of years, and this corn, which is not a food that would have been eaten in abundance. And now that's what they're fed almost exclusively in the United States. So this changes the fat profile, the omega-6 and 9, 3, 6, and 9 balance ratio is off, and you have more pro-inflammatory omega-6, which can fuel inflammation, where it's not so much a problem with the butter, it's not so much a problem with the casein in this case, it's a problem with the high omega-6 fats found in this butter, which is pro-inflammatory. So again, it's more of the farming practices and less to do with the actual inherent nature of butter. The next issue that we would have is, I think I covered all of it. Oh, is actual gut problems. So I want to make sure that I'm covering this. So dairy reactivities, dairy sensitivities, dairy intolerances may be due to underlying gut issues. We want to make sure that we're addressing that too, because really anything under the sun can be reactive for somebody that has underlying gut problems like leaky gut syndrome and autoimmune reactivity and someone on the autoimmune inflammation spectrum. So if you're going to bring butter into your diet, and I should say this, we can run food immune reactivity labs to see if your body is responding to the different aspects of dairy. There's also something called cross-reactivity against dairy, which your body thinks it's gluten and can tag casein with a gluten protein. So that's with a gluten antibody. So that's another aspect of dairy reactivities as well. So everybody's different, but I just kind of named the good and the bad of what we see clinically. So what kinds of butter? If you're going to eat butter, I don't recommend just any old butter because of what we've done to the dairy supply in the United States, where most of it is junk food and you don't want to be having it. So the good things that you want to look for is grass-fed butter, which we just talked about, is good. It has better fat-soluble vitamins, better vitamin A content, D and K2, has good fats as well in it because it's not eating corn. And if it's organic, it's not going to be pumped with all the added junk as well. So, Kerrygold butter, again, I have no association. They're not paying me to say this. The majority of cows in New Zealand, they are predominantly making the beta-A2 casein, which is more of the original. So it's kind of been an initiative for a lot of different countries to start having cows in their farms that have this beta-A2 casein. Another form of butter that you can bring into your life that is that is better butter, is ghee or clarified butter. This is a traditional Indian way of preparing butter. It's just the butter fat where you get all the fat soluble vitamins, but none of the good old casein. For someone that's extra sensitive to casein, there still can be trace amounts of casein in grass-fed ghee. So this may still not work for you. That there are companies like Tinstar, like Pure Indian Foods, and that are batch tested for being casein free, and they typically, the Cultured Dairy and Tinstar, these ones from Pure Indian Foods and Tinstar, they're really good for being known to be casein free. There are a lot of our patients that do have these dairy reactivities don't have a problem with these grass-fed organic ghees. The next idea to have is getting beta-A2 butter, which is probably not as common or easy to find, but it's out there, and there are local farms that make that have beta-A2 butter. So you want to look for cows, butter from cows like Jersey cows, heritage Jersey cows, African cows, Indian cows that have this ancient original beta-A2 casein. So hopefully this was helpful, guys. We offer free webcam and health evaluations for people around the world at drwillcole.com. If you want to see, get a functional medicine perspective on what you're going through. And our job here is to really find out what your body loves and what your body hates to really come up and customize a health experience to really allow your body to thrive. So I hope this was educational, guys. For more information, you can check out drwillcole.com or check the little check the comment section below to read the article. All right, my friends, and I will see you next week.